Howdy, REBIRTH here, and welcome. Alright, this video is just pretty much going to be screwing around with kind of a test build here of part of the Motor City Online REBIRTH project, or portion of the project that I'm working on. And kind of start off with walk around a little bit, showcase some of the static cars that are in here that are placeholders for now. 69 Charger, you got 70 Nova, got the Cobra, got 67 or 66 Camaro, 57 Corvette, 66 Mustang, the 64 Impala, 32 Ford Coupe, 70 Firebird, and the bits and pieces of a 57 Bel Air. And part of the statics, I've also got multiple skins set up for the 32 so far. I'm still working on getting some other skins available for the other statics, but for anybody who is familiar with the original Motor City Online, you'll kind of recognize these vehicles and the skins. This was your decal sponsored, your scalloped, your flame, your rusty, and this was the skulls. These are just statics right here. They don't do anything. There's not even any collision put on them just yet, but that's easily fixable. And these guys do have collision on them, so to add the collision to these guys, these are actually separate blueprints. Setting up the 32 Ford Coupes a little bit differently, and with them, if you look at the viewport, you can still see a little bit of the interior as well, but of those, can change it to block all, and that should help with the collision of it. So I can quickly take a look. Not that I really need to worry about collisions just yet. And the scale of these are a little bit off. So what I've done was actually originally was looking at this is the original models they're not bad. It's just that they were made for a game that was out 18 years ago, which seems like forever ago. 2001 through 2003 for the game. But what I can do was, with these, I actually changed the scale over for the current project that I'm working on. Got these scaled at 100, which is totally unacceptable, but for now this will get them available as statics. So looking at them in that scale at 100 instead of 110, and of course you need to make adjustments or getting it lowered down to the ground and that kind of stuff, but it's a little bit more suitable for size wise. Could probably go a hair smaller, but it suits pretty well. Can also come in here to my world settings and change third person game mode. And can actually utilize, this was a system that was set up by John Galt for his hover cycle, which I believe he's going to be releasing relatively soon. Really cool stuff. He does some really good work. Should link his stuff in the description, but he's got a YouTube channel as well. Worth checking out. So I just add some stuff in here just to screw around with, just because having the test map with nothing on it was kind of pointless. That way I can just get in here and just cruise around. Now I'm probably going to go through about 10 different iterations of the driving mechanics. This is not bad, but you've also got the vehicle game mode, which actually you can change the test car. I don't think I have working correctly. The sedan, This is from the standard setup that for religion for the standard vehicle, and it's not horrible. It does have the wheels turn with proper animations for the wheels turning. The car itself needs a lot of tweaking, but it's usable, and it does have a gear indicator and a speed indicator in kilometers per hour, which probably ought to look into later, converting to miles per hour for us American folk. The center of gravity of the car is not that great either, and you don't see a driver inside the car. That's again something to look at later, but you also have an interior view, and although the wheels and steering work, you don't actually have any steering wheel movement. So whether this car can make the loop or not, I don't have a clue. And no. Once you're on your side or once you're on your roof, that's pretty much it. There is no mechanic to turn it back just yet. There was also the advanced vehicle, which not really that necessary. It's got some decent features to it, but there's something to look at later down the line because it's going to be a lot more advanced. Because the fact, well, first off, the scale of the car is a little bit wrong. The wheels on them are terrible. But it does have steering. It does have a floppy antenna, which I care less about. But it does have working suspension. It's a lot better suspension than anything else I've got so far. So you actually can get some articulation. Of course, you have a really crappy center of gravity on this one as well. As you can see, you can actually get some movement of your suspension. It doesn't handle terrain very well, even though it's supposed to be an all-terrain vehicle. But having the actual suspension working, it works on the other ones as well, but it's more visible on this one. And I don't really think we need to worry about, for a car racing game, having all of these extra mechanics for suspension visible like that, where you can see the movement of the shock absorber or whatever. And the braking seems to be only on the front. Alright, so kind of messing around with things. This is a test build. This isn't the actual project. Looking at the way that the vehicles work, looking at the vehicle blueprints, the standard vehicle, and actually it's hidden in here, sedan, the way that it works is, you know, to replicate it on that, so that's nice. Disabled breakpoint. Okay. He's the developer that set this up, left some stuff in here. You got your default camera, reset VR device, which I'm not doing VR. Toggle camera. This is your system for hitting tab in this case, as your input for it. And it's saying whether or not it's going to be in car or not. Your steering input, which is your input axis move right, which is your actual left and right. And throttle input, which is your up and down arrow. In this case, your WASD movement controls are done through here. Handbrake is actually the space bar, so that you can actually have some control over braking. Update. This should be for the multiplayer stuff. What I should probably end up doing is setting up a simple project that has my simple multiplayer template in it and creating a basic car game off of their stuff, which you can probably do that pretty quickly. Handle mouse camera movement for internal camera. So that's pretty much the stuff that it's got in here. It's got some functions for the actual camera and the in-game HUD. So if you set up your in-game HUD, it's showing the gear display and speed display. So speed display setting, in-car speed, yeah, it's pretty cool. Something to mess with later on. update HUD string. But this is the actual car itself. And if I wanted to, I could actually change the mesh around. But if I change the meshes, I don't have any meshes that have animating wheels or wheels that actually steer. And if I were to take like this body right here and replace it with another body, I couldn't just do that because the wheels are part of this particular body. So cars in the future that are going to be developed for this are going to have a wheel attachment set up on it already. You can see you've got the cameras here, one here for in-car, one for external, and you could actually move those around if you wanted to. But, and this is good, and if you wanted to add a character sitting down inside here, it'd be fine, but he would just have his hands on the wheel, and it wouldn't really be all that much. See, that's where your speed and your gear is showing. So it's a simple system, but this is probably a variation of what I'm going to be using, is something similar to this for the actual car. It does have some settings for it, which I'm going to have to tweak considerably. That's for your gear shift display. And it's not showing all of the stuff that's available here. If you look at your vehicle movement, you've got your mechanical setup, your steering setup. These things are in here and usable. You can set up things like the number of wheels and the wheel setup. Okay, you got 4 wheels, and each one of them is broken up as like sedan front wheel, the wheel class, and then bone name of where it's actually located, and whether or not it steers or not. So technically, you could probably set up 4-wheel steering if you wanted to do it that way, or front steer, rear steer, like if it was for a forklift, but I don't plan on doing forklifts. There's not too many forklift races to go on around here. The wheel mass, the drag coefficient, the chassis width, the chassis height, and whether you can use a reverse as a brake system or not. Not exactly sure what the inertia tensor scale is, but oh well. You've got tire load. Yeah, I'm not going to mess with those just yet. But having that being said, you've got your vehicle input, your idle brake input, and your stop threshold, which I'm assuming is the amount of, the auto brake will, when absolute vehicle forward speed is less than this. Okay, well, it's like an auto stop system when you're at a slow enough speed. Wrong direction threshold. So it adds a braking effect whenever you're out of control. Movement capabilities, the angles that you can go across, things like that. Something to look into. Velocities, something also to look into later down the line. But you do have the basic system for creating a good 4-wheeled vehicle here with the wheel setup, and in that wheel setup you can add additional offsets for the positioning of the wheels and decide whether they have steering or not. You could disable steering. This is a front wheel, so you want it to have steering. If you were to look at, like, say 2 and 3, which I think are rear wheels, yep, rear left, and disable steering is not enabled, but it doesn't already have steering set up. So this is just basic settings for the wheel positioning. But your mass for your vehicle, 1,500 pounds, lovely. Drag coefficient, chassis width and height. Here's where your mechanical setup is. You've got your engine setup, which is your max RPMs, your MOI, which is, come on, show us, there we go, moment of inertia of the engine around the axis rotation. What I'm assuming that's going to be is the it would affect your sliding whenever you're turning. Your damping rate at full throttle, 0 throttle, when clutch is engaged. Okay, so, but your differential setup. This one is currently set up to limited slip 4-wheel drive, but you can choose a limited slip front drive, rear drive, open 4-wheel drive, open front. And if you're not familiar with what open and limited slip is, you should be a car person to kind of really want this part of the game mode anyway. But what an open differential is, and this comes from my jeeping time, is an open differential means that you've got your left and right tire on the particular axle. We're going to say the rear axle at this point. And what will happen is it's sending an equal amount of power to the center of the differential, and it's being spread to both tires. But what happens is it's going to take the path of least resistance. So if you're off-road and one of your tires is in the air, there's no resistance on it, or very little resistance on it, so it's going to end up getting the majority of the power. It works when you're on flat ground. It's okay. But whenever you're actually off-road or in a condition where one tire starts to spin, it's going to get all of the power and you're just going to go nowhere. Whereas a limited slip, what will happen is if one tire breaks free and is spinning, then what will happen is it will kind of somewhat bind together and still allow some power to get through to the other side. Translation to that, with a limited slip differential, you can actually still kind of get propelled forward whenever you're losing traction. Neither one of them are optimal. With an off-road condition or for drag racing, what you'll see a lot of times is what's called a locker. And a locker will actually lock both of them to where both tires on that axle are getting the exact same amount of power at the same time. Where the problem comes into is when you're actually turning, the tires themselves with an open differential or any differential, what happens is when you're turning, the tire on the inside portion of the turn is not rotating as many times to make that full turn. If you're making a 90-degree left-hand turn, the left-hand wheel is only going to turn a small amount versus it may do 2 or 3 full revolutions to make that 90-degree left-hand turn with the right wheel. So the two wheels are turning at different speeds and different amounts. So a open differential is going to be better for turning whenever it comes to the stress on the axle itself. Because what can actually happen is if you've got a locked differential where both of them are equal, then you're trying to make a hard left-hand turn, that both tires are trying to turn the same amount of revolutions, and you're going to end up having a hard time turning, or you may lose traction on the inside wheel, and it could cause you to lose control. So limited slip was the best of both worlds, but we're going to leave this as limited slip 4-wheel drive. Well, we can actually go ahead and put it into limited slip rear drive, and let's play around with that just really quickly and make sure we're using the sedan as our vehicle. And we're on vehicle game mode. We want to use our default pawn class as sedan, and then hit play. Now, part of this video is for one person that's wanting to help out with this project, and for anybody else that wants to help with this project that you don't really, oh, that's lovely, just do a barrel roll, don't necessarily have experience with the Unreal Engine 4. So you can see only the rear tires are getting power, and it's going to allow you to do things like drift a little bit more. So if you're going at a higher speed and you turn hard, you're not going to turn as quickly, and you're going to slide more and drift more. Whereas if you were to go into vehicle movement and change that back over to front drive. So this is limited slip front wheel drive. So now the front tires are actually pulling the traction here, and it's going to affect your turning. And you're not going to slide near as much you're going to have much more control in a turn with the front wheel drive than you are with a rear wheel drive. So you would think front wheel drive would be more preferential for pulling instead of pushing, but entirely up to you. Let's actually go back to our vehicle movement and our limited slip four-wheel drive again, and compile, save, and let's go back in here. So now with it being the limited slip four-wheel drive, you're going to get a little bit of slip here and there. Not a real big fan of this particular type. I think for each car it needs to be set up specifically for that type of car. If you're trying to set up for any of these cars that are shown right here, these are muscle cars. They're going to be rear-wheel drive cars, so they should be configured as such. So whenever you're configuring your setup for your individual car, then you need to go ahead and set them up as the correct type. So if your vehicle is a rear-wheel drive, then you should probably put it as limited slip on, and I'm using limited slip rear drive. Actually, let's try it as, since we did that already, let's try it as a open rear drive. So it should be the same as an open differential. Now, we've also got transmission stuff as well. With this basic car system right here, we can set it up as an automatic transmission, or we can set it to manually shift, but then we would have to assign a key for the gear shift, which, thinking about it, might actually be a bad idea to set up the mouse wheel so that you can scroll through the gears. Something to look into later. But you've got gear 1 through 5, and you can actually set up the gear ratio, the down ratio and up ratio, the clutch strength, so if you're running a manual transmission, that kind of stuff. But I like the idea of the automatic transmission for most players. It just seems like an easier way to go. But I know that if you have the option available for configuring it, let's see. If we try to say, well, we would have to get a reference to our vehicle movement, and our vehicle movement, we can see that we have all these options here. I wonder if we can actually set them up manually inside of this. Transmission setup. We can see automatic transmission, gear. Let's just see what's available. Gear. Yep. Get current gear. Get target gear. Get use auto gears. So you could enable or disable the auto shifting just by changing your variables inside here off of your vehicle movement. So yeah, that's pretty cool. You can set that up to do that. In your components, you can set use auto gears, and with that you can actually, why it needed to get a second vehicle movement, I don't know, but whatever. Just as simple as turning that on and off, you can enable or disable your automatic transmission. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, we're just experimenting with this video, trying to show off what can be done with the vehicle current setup, and how that can be used towards the actual gaming project for adding out a Motor City Online style gameplay. Your final drive, that's nice. Just seeing what options we can pull from the vehicle movement node here. Let's try gears. Nope, it's not finding that. Gear. So now I don't see that, but like I said, there's probably some other ways that we can call this information, like a differential. We should be able to get a reference to that. No. D-I-F-F-E-R-E. No, it's not showing up anything. Drive. Nope. Was hoping that there was a way to manually call this system right here so that you could maybe set up a four-wheel drive vehicle where you could enable or disable the front-wheel drive or the rear-wheel drive as needed. You got a split here. You got a 50-50 split set up already. You got front split is 45. So if you're running four-wheel drive, you could actually add assistance from the front wheels or whatever. But, yeah, whatever. There's still some things to work with. I would look more into the one submitted by John, but I don't want to show any of his stuff on my video because I don't want to give away his elements, you know. I'm actually going to go ahead and hit save all. Make sure everything's saved on this one, and actually load up the other project that I was working with, just to kind of show a little bit of what I was working with on it. So let's open project. Now, with the other project that I'm working on, it's going to have more finished stuff and things that I know are working, or things that I know that I can make work relatively easy. But what I will do for later on is I will create just a basic project here in just a second. And let's actually go to the lobby map. This is all part from the main menu here. And actually, let's go back to the main menu for just a second, just to kind of show what it looks like. Go to standalone gameplay. That way, making a little bit of progress with the menu system. I still need to redo almost all of the graphics for it. They were just placeholders to begin with. Once you got some music playing in the background, animated character here, your basic info. Again, what I'm going to do is get it closer set up to the original Motor City Online style without being a direct copy of it. I'm going to add a slight curve coming across here that'll overlap and kind of chop off part of this video, or this display where it's showing a person standing next to a car. The only thing that's actually activated right now is the auto sales, and it just brings in another window and shows a car on a turntable. Then I'll set up an actual separate menu for this, but I just want to showcase a little bit. You see what happens is every time you load it up, these cars will change colors to a different color, and the 32 Ford Coupe will actually cycle through all of the different skins that I have available for it. So it just looks like you're checking out the cars in the car lot. It's funny how this one and this one ended up the same color, and this one and this one was the same color. But you could actually turn that one back off by unclicking on it, or re-clicking on it. Alright, then going into the actual lobby map is going to be a virtual 3D lobby. And I'll actually run that one in the selected viewport. And yes, you're on foot. You're not actually driving a car at this point. This is a lobby, and what I'm envisioning is part of the lobby system. Now you're walking. You can hold down Shift to sprint. You get some cars, and these again were rescaled to the 100% instead of 110. And they all have some collision applied to them. Not the correct collision, but at least some collision, you know. I haven't set up an actual collision system for them just yet. But they do at least have collision. And traffic cones you can knock around, you can step into the hole there. Just kind of played around with it with the settings. So the whole point of the lobby map is so that you could actually interact with the environment. So if you want to go to the ATM, then you could actually check your cash balance, your account balance, your crypto balance, and you could actually make withdrawals or deposits, and you're done. Just walk away, and it'll close the menu automatically, and I'll also put a button on there to close it as well. But one of the things I'm going to be doing is to help things along is with the actual game of COG. You'll see like this right here is, well, it doesn't look like much of a bowling alley, but you'll be able to come over here and walk into this building, and then you get taken to a bowling game. You can see I've just had some pedestrians just roaming around. Pedestrians will only walk right now on the sidewalks and through crosswalks. So they won't be standing out in the middle of the roadway. And there are a few police officers walking around as well. In the actual game of COG, the police officers will actually be human people. They will be the moderators inside the game will actually be police officers. Any staff that are walking around would actually be listed or shown as FBI agents for now, and then later on, if there's any serious issues that we need to resolve, it's all set to random selection. The cops will either be a male or a female cop, and the regular pedestrians will be between 5 or 6 different types. Weird how you got like 4 of them, 5 of them right there that are the same thing, and there's 2 more of the same thing. Gotta love RNG, right? So again, like this right here, there's a popcorn thing, so this could be now the city's going to change drastically. This is just a sample. You'll actually have a movie theater, you'll have restaurants, you'll have a bowling alley, you'll have other games that you can go to. If you want to go to the car lot, you would actually walk around inside the game, and this is a police station, so if you got a problem with another player, you come over here, you hit E, you enter the police station, and you could then file a complaint or whatever else. What we'll do is later down the line, there will be a subway station that works, and you'll be able to travel to a different city perhaps. If you don't like this one, you want to go to a different server, then you would actually come down into the subway, take a subway to another city, which is the actual other server, or maybe wait for a bus right here at the bus stop. But I think the subway station is probably going to be the best way to go. Music shop, whatever. But the restaurants will be a place where you can actually walk into, sit down in a chair, and have a separate chat room, a physical typing chat. And you can actually carry on a conversation with other people in that room. But there will be on the main lobby map, you could actually say walk over here, and instead of it being which there is a block to keep you from stepping off the edge here, but you could actually walk to a car lot, go buy cars. You can go to a gun shop, go buy guns for your other game modes, things like that. The whole point of having this virtual lobby is so that you can actually interact with other people and maneuver around and go check things out, explore the city. For now, there will be no crime and no stuff like that inside the lobby. But what I'm thinking is later down the road, actually setting up a system to where you can actually come to, if you want to buy specific type things, have a black market area where the only way you can get those black market items is actually walk to that side of town. And once you cross into that sector, then combat will be available, but it won't necessarily be, everybody that you run into won't be in combat mode. You can walk over to that side of town, and there might be melee damage, and there might be pistols or whatever. So you take the chance of being robbed. So with having ATMs around town, if you decide that you want to go to the black market area, it will be a cash only area, just to make it more intense, so that if you want to buy something from the black market, then you're going to have to carry cash. And if you're carrying cash and you get robbed, then, well, you just get robbed. And the players get a little bit too unruly, so you just walk over to your ATM and say, okay, I look at my cash balance, I don't have any cash, but I've got X number of dollars in my bank account. Well, I'll go ahead and put in a number and hit withdraw, and I can take that amount from my account and go right to my cash. As for the crypto will be used as a premium currency, and the premium currency can be used at specific shops to buy specific things, and that'll all be covered later on. But like I said, if you want to go to that black market area, you need to get cash out, and if you get killed while you're in a black market area, then you drop anything you're carrying money wise, so that anybody can just walk over, kill you, and take your money. However, committing a crime will then alert the police, and the police will respond to that area. If they don't see the perpetrator, then, you know, okay. But if they see an active crime going on, then they can't intervene. But if there's somebody that's just being a royal pain in the butt, and say if you're coming over here, and as soon as you step onto this bridge, you go into the combat zone, and then you got some guy hiding around here behind the corner that's just killing everybody as soon as they walk in. You don't want anybody griefing the community. So what can happen is, if they see that being a problem, then one of the moderators, which are police officers, can come over here and see that there is an issue. Well, if the police officer gets attacked, then it's on like Donkey Kong. The SWAT team will be called in, which is going to be a bot system, and they look like SWAT characters. They will come in and they will execute the person who is causing those problems, and all that money will be confiscated. It'll go into probably either a lottery fund or something, whatever. But as an anti-griefing feature, the SWAT team can be called in to execute whoever is being a problem. That doesn't mean that they can't be dealt with in the regular world as well. So if you've got someone that's chat spamming, then they're going to be dealt with by the moderators. The moderators can actually say, okay, this is the guy that's actually chat spamming. He has to have a physical character inside the game. Well, since you've been, charged with chat spamming, I can actually arrest your character as a moderator and then drag you across town and have control of your character and actually put you in jail and lock you from being able to use any kind of physical chat, voice chat, anything like that for X number of time. So moderators will actually be in control of watching for spammers. And if you're charged for spamming, it'll be marked on your permanent record. You will actually have a save game, and it will annotate on there that you've been charged with, you have a criminal offense. That way, if a moderator sees that you're spamming, they can actually click on your name in chat, pull up your information, and they can see that you've been charged twice before with chat spam, and can actually increase the fine or the duration of your jail time. And the cool thing about jail time when done through the save game system, if you're charged with 1 hour of jail time, your character is stuck in a jail cell and cannot get out. You can walk around all you want to, but you have no chat, you have no voice. So you cannot speak to anybody, you can't bother anybody. But, well, an hour or whatever, I'll just log out for an hour and come back. Okay. If you were in jail for 15 minutes and you logged out and you come back in 45 minutes and your jail time should be up, no. You still have 45 more minutes. So if you want to continue using your account, then you're going to have to sit there and spend your entire sentence inside that prison. Maybe at that point you'll learn to shut the hell up and quit spamming the chat. I don't know why the water has to come through in this particular spot only. Yeah, whatever. It's fixable. But I just want to cover that really quickly and talk about the aspects of the lobby and why the lobby system is a non-driving, and that's also to keep people from griefing, because good and well if you've got pedestrians that are trying to cross the street, then they're just going to walk across without actually looking. They're just going to, I'm going to go over here. And next thing you know, they're getting run over by a car and their character's dead in the street. Well, then you're going to have that fool that's going to come over here, and instead of parking neatly in a parking place, they're going to park right over here and block the ATM so nobody can get to the ATM. Yes, somebody will do that. So by making this a pedestrian-only lobby, then you can control that a little bit better. Alright, well, I'm not going to keep this stream going very long. I just want to cover a few little basics of what's going on with the project, and show that there is some stuff actually going on. And yes, if I wanted to, I could actually go ahead and change this over to drive in this particular map. I actually have another version of it just specifically set up for driving in, which can actually use this as a a race map. So we could actually set up checkpoints and drive around the map and say, okay, when you get to this turn, you'll have an arrow at the intersection to turn right, and then get over here. Yes, we've been playing around with sounds a little bit too. You get over here to this intersection, you get an arrow to point you to the right. There's little hazards like that little trench right over there. You get over here, you go straight. You'd have arrows to indicate where you need to turn. And yes, there is still a little thing to keep you from driving off the map, but not on this one. You drive off the map, you're dead, game over. So, it's because I haven't set it up the rest of the way yet. Alright, so for those who are interested in trying to pitch in on the project, if you have any experience with Unreal Engine 4, that will be greatly helpful. That you can help come in here, set up systems, set up the animation, set up cars, things of that nature. If you want to work on the main portion of the game, it's actually COG, Center of Gravity. This is actually going to be a mode or a portion of the Center of Gravity game, so that you're not limiting the game just to Motor City Online type game, or just a Paragon style game, or just a whatever style game. Center of Gravity is actually a mixture of mostly a 3D lobby system like what you see here, and it's actually to where if I want to go to the Motor City stuff, then I'm actually going to need to hike my butt across town, and say if I want to go to the driving portion, I'll have to come over here to this big blue skyscraper. You know, the new city system, the new actual city, actually will have a little bit better observability of what's what. There might be a car sitting outside on the roof or the side of the building, so you know that if you want to go play a car game, you go here. If you want to go play a naval battle, then you come over here to the docks, and you go play a naval battle. If you want to go play a tank game or a combat game, then you go to the military base, which, you know, could be right over here, or the airport over here for a flying game, or what have you. A casino, a restaurant, a bowling alley. By having a lobby system where you could walk around, interact with the environment, and be able to go places and do things, then I think that it will add a little bit of degree to the game for some people. A lot of people will like that. Some people won't. They just want to go play. Oh, I want to go play the shooter. I want to go blow crap up. I want to play Fortnite. I want to play whatever. If you want to go play Fortnite, go play Fortnite. But if you want to play it my style, then you do it through a virtual lobby system like this. And if you want to go play a Fortnite style game, then again, you could also come over here to a subway system. Come over here, you're teleported to the subway, and then you can say, okay, I'm going to go to the fort. Or if you go right here and a bus pulls up or whatever, you know, just have it set up to where you can have a system of transport to get you to other maps. If you don't want to be in this big city map, you want to be on an urban map or whatever, then go to it. Alright, well, we're going to chop this video short. We'll keep it less than 45 minutes, and we're right there at that mark now. I'm actually going to cover a little bit more of this stuff as I go, and what I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll create a simple driving project, which is just going to be my multiplayer template and the basic vehicle system, and I'll post a link to that in my Discord channel in the Motor City portion. So if anybody wants to check that out, play around with it, get some ideas and that kind of stuff, you're more than welcome to do so. Alright guys, well, thanks for watching, and I'm going to go ahead and set up that project, and we'll have that up here very shortly. I'll actually do a short video on that as well. Okay, we'll see you soon.